Are you a control freak? You probably don't think you are. But what if I said almost everybody's a control freak? Including you, including me. And that is because I'm redefining things according to an ideal. My point is that if you think it's all up to you to make things happen, you're a control freak. Because you're not trusting the universe, you're not trusting the flow. You're thinking that you are the main factor that's in charge of making things happen in a way that's okay for you. And that if you quit doing that, that things will go badly. Now, think of it when an athlete is in the zone. It could be a dancer, it could be an actor, but let's think of it as an athlete that's in the zone. That they just somehow do things correctly. Are they in control in that moment when they're doing things correctly? And I would say, no, they are not. In fact, they are the opposite of being in control. They are in the flow. Now, of course, they got to the point of being in the flow through a lot of self-discipline usually, but not always. They could have gotten there through relentless play. And I would argue that'd probably be a better way to do it. Not that I'm the athlete expert. But control, I mean, think of the most controlling people you know. Is their control making them much better off? Or is their control just showing everybody that they are insecure, that they are not trusting? If you're a control freak, you think everything will go wrong if you don't keep things in control. And most of us are on that spectrum. And the point is to start surrendering to the flow, to quit swimming upstream, and realizing that our ego is like a fart in the wind, and the universe really isn't here to placate your ego. Now, if you look at my other video, the last video I did, it was about the universe wanting you to succeed, the universe having your back. So one thing that being a control freak will do is it will divert you from the path that the universe is trying to send you on. Let's say you're dating somebody and the universe, through intuition and events, gives you a lot of signs that this is not a person that you need to be with. But through your control, through your swimming upstream, you hold that relationship together. If you're a fixed sign like me, Scorpio, also Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius, you might find that you have an extraordinary ability to fight against the universe in your efforts to be in control. But even when your control succeeds, you're going to find out that you're not as happy as if you followed your joy. So think of it this way: being a control freak, it's about avoiding a feeling of chaos that you don't want to feel, that you're afraid of. It's avoiding that feeling of being out of control. And then it's also sticking to a fixed idea that maybe was correct when it emerged into the world or into your head, but it no longer is. So it's like if you think, well, that person said the same word as me. We both said, I love cherries, or whatever, simultaneously, and it was like magic, and that was the sign of the universe that we need to be together forever. And now, 10 years later, you're miserable, and that's never happened again, but you have this fixed idea in your head, and you're holding this relationship together no matter what. And all that effort, all that swimming upstream is causing you suffering, agony. It's spreading out to people around you. You're miserable. You're polluting your own environment with your negative energy. On the other side, let's say you don't jump to conclusions when you get intuitions, but you kind of listen. Like what I do when I get an intuition, especially if it's kind of crazy, like in a session with a client. I'll ignore it the first time. I'll pay attention the second time. Third time it comes around, I have to pass it on. That's my rule. So if the universe wants me to pass on an intuition to somebody, it has to tell me 3 times. Okay? That's my little control thing, right? But at number 3, it's not my control anymore. Now I have to do it, right? So, I'm not going to say it the first time because I don't totally trust it yet. I don't know whether that's just a thought in my head or part of my agenda or whatever. Now, you can come up with a similar thing when you're afraid of your impulses. You're afraid that isn't intuition, that's just me. Okay. But what you want to think about is that the energy of trying to be in control is an energy of fear, of lack, of emotional avoidance, and avoidance of joy. It's like saying, I have it all figured out. I know the parameters of my reality, and everything has to make sense in that limited space because I insist. And the fact is, this is an ongoing creation. When you approach it with joy and love and realize the universe has your back and the universe wants you to be joyful and feel love and spread those energies, feel what control is compared to what I just described. It's not it. The universe wants you to let go, follow your bliss, follow your joy and your excitement. And as you do that, if you haven't been doing that, of course, like little weird suppressed energies are going to come out. Fears are going to come out. Inauthentic desires are going to feel like authentic desires. I mean, you're going to have a process. Like I've said many times, if you haven't turned a hose on for years, and then you turn it on, a faucet, whatever. You don't want to drink the first cup that comes out. You want to let it flow a little bit. You want to let it rinse out. Now, when you start releasing control, you don't want to just follow the first impulse and ride off into the horizon. Okay? A lot of people, when they have a deep healing, like in their first session, their second session, they come to me and they're like, I want to quit my job. And I'm like, okay, let's make a plan. Let's strategize this. I understand you have come into a new energy, but you still have bills to pay, and you might be on a little high right now that's not very realistic. So let's get grounded, feet on the ground, turn it into a long-term intention, and start moving in that direction. Right? So sometimes when you let go of this control thing, you'll get these overreactions on the other side that then will make you want to reimpose the control. Like one interesting example that I've seen of this is, I used to teach Japanese executives English, not only executives, but primarily, in the 90s in New York City. And what I noticed was that there were certain Japanese people who, when they got out from under the thumb of Japanese culture, society, norms, rules, they could be very rude, because they could only see politeness in terms of the Japanese level of politeness, and then all other behavior to them was kind of impolite. So then they just became impolite because people weren't showing them Japanese type politeness. So they would just drop the whole thing. And it was kind of shocking, because it was an overreaction, right? It was like they needed to adjust the mix. Okay, we're not completely impolite in America. We just have different rules which don't involve bowing and saying thank you as often. But we do have rules of politeness. It's just that compared to some cultures, they're a little fuzzy, a little more nuanced, a little bit more situation-based. So anyway, the thing is, this is one of the reasons that people are afraid to deal with their control issues, because it's the fear that they'll go totally berserk. They'll go really out of control. And that's probably not going to happen. Okay? But some of it probably is going to happen. It's like the person who gives up their fundamentalist religion. If you've seen those things on the Amish, and they have their Rumspringa deal, where when they become whatever 18, they leave the Amish faith for whatever amount of time, and some of them go wild. They're drinking, they're having group sex, they're like doing drugs, they're getting arrested, all kinds of stuff, because they've relinquished the control of the Amish rules and lifestyle, and they go totally wild. And that, yeah, sure, that's a risk. That could definitely happen. But the thing is, it's important to stay grounded. It's important to maybe have a spotter when you're going to start relinquishing these control issues. I find that the best way is, like with my work, I don't just, let's say if I would be doing an energy healing session on you to help you release your control issues, I wouldn't just say, okay, let's do energy to release control issues. That wouldn't necessarily be my approach, although it could be in certain situations. What I would do is I would do energy on the underlying factors that make you feel like you need to be in control, like fear issues, trust issues, anger issues, all kinds of stuff that are underlying your need to be in control. And so you would organically, as you release those issues, you would start to find yourself coming into the state of flow more. And then at some point along the line, we would realize, okay, we've cleared a lot of the issues, but now we need to actually just do some energy work to allow the flow. And then we would do that work. But it wouldn't necessarily be the first thing that I would do. So anyway, we're all control freaks to some degree. If we don't let go and trust the universe to provide and to give us direction. So, something to ponder, something to work on, something to call me for a session about if you feel called to do that. And just mainly think about your reasons for wanting control, your fears, your lack of trust, and your mental model of how things are supposed to be. And then, sorry about that, the light just blinked again. That's my sign to quit. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon.